Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Hunting Stories Podcast. I'm the host, Michael, and today we're going to hear some great stories from Kurt Belding of Western Obsessions TV. Kurt is a great guy. He is an awesome hunter, and a unique thing about him is that he is as interested in helping other people succeed in hunting as he is in his own hunts. So, that being said, I don't want to steal his thunder. We're going to let him go ahead and kick things off. But I want to thank Kurt very much for jumping on the podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy his stories as much as I did recording them with him. So all that being said, let's get this thing started. All right, Kurt, welcome to the Hunting Stories Podcast. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course, man. I'm super excited to have you here. I told you a little bit before the episode that I actually heard you on the Elk Shape podcast and heard some of the things that you're doing. Got me fired up and kind of got my fat ass off the couch. So I want to say thank you. I love following you on Instagram and all your workouts. And I just love what you do. But I know what you do. Not necessarily everyone that's listening does. So why don't we start this whole thing off with you introducing yourself?
Yeah. My name's Kurt Belding. I own Western Obsessions TV, which is a hunting show media company. I produce a lot of content, video, photo for brands and stuff like that. This year I did something called the Top Predator, which is a fitness archery challenge. That's been fun. Actually, the finals is coming up this Saturday, August 6th. So I'm excited to see how that goes. But I'm all about, I'm obsessed with hunting, 100%. Fitness is a big part of my game. And I'm about hunting until I'm 80. That's really what my goal is, man.
That's awesome.
I guided a couple guys a couple years back that were 69 and 72. And I've always had the notion of man, how many years do I got left of hunting the way I want? And these guys just raped the mountain, man. They were awesome. They just killed it. And I'm like, if they can do it at 70 years old, that means I can do it too. So that's my goal, man. I want to hunt until I'm 80.
That's awesome. Question about your Top Predator finals. Is that going to be streamed anywhere, or is it just sort of a live event you got to show up to?
Man, I wish I could figure out how to get it live and streamed on a place. But I'm going to film it. So we'll have a videographer there, and then I'll put it out on the social. And
awesome.
It won't
YouTube
be like
and whatnot.
It won't be the entire long drawn out competition, but it's going to be the gist of it, the hype reel and stuff like that. So
perfect. Well, I'll put a link to that in the show notes because this episode is going to come out a little bit after that finals happens, but maybe it'll fire some people up to look into it for next year. Under the assumption you're doing it again.
Yeah, I'll do it again next year for sure. And our online qualifier is cool because you can do it from your house, man, or wherever you shoot your bow. So anybody can do it. This year I'm having the finals in person. I'm not sure if I'll do that again next year or not, but this is a great excuse, man, of hey, I need to be at the top of my game. I'm going to join Top Predator, not because I'm planning on winning, but because it's a great excuse to get in shape and shoot my bow a lot, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And hopefully meet some other cool people that are doing it as well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so you want to hunt till you're 80. I think that's a pretty awesome goal. I think that's where I'm kind of at too. I see my father-in-law right now, and he's about 71, and he's kind of given up on it. So I don't want to be there. So I'm pushing myself to be in the best shape I can from this point forward to make sure that I'm right there behind you at 80. But I want to ask you, when did you start hunting?
I started as a little kid. Obviously, I think I started just like most people start hunting. I'd say majority of people with their family, right? Grew up in a hunting family, not super into hunting. I grew up in Nebraska. So whitetail hunting, turkey hunting, pheasant hunting is how I grew up, and just super redneck, man. We never really wore camo, it's blue jeans, a hoodie, trying to stay warm with a 243 shooting 100-yard shots, at whitetail with a gun, man. I didn't do a ton of bow hunting, a little bit. Actually, in my first kind of memory of outdoor stuff, my dad trapped when I was a little kid.
Oh, wow.
And I have a picture with him. I think either 2 or 3 years old. I went and checked the trap lines with him. He took me with him. I don't know how he did it, but he had trapped the lynx cat, and it was a big deal from the little town that standing over this lynx cat at 2 years old, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I didn't grow up hunting or even fishing really, so I'm kind of trying to pick this up a little late, but I'm having a good time with it.
Of
Um,
course.
yeah, man. So I know that you have a couple different stories that you're thinking about telling us. Why don't we start with one of the whitetail ones, as long as we're going back a little bit in your history.
Yeah, sure. Oh man. The
Set
funniest
set the stage.
the
Yeah, let us
story
know
that kind of
when this is, where this is, all that. What?
okay. All right. So growing up in a small town in Nebraska, deer hunting's like, man, that's like the Super Bowl, right? Rifle season in Nebraska is like everything. So you know, I'm like, obviously I grew up as a kid doing some hunting, but as I got in my teenage years, girls and partying kind of like slipped in there too, right? So every
Yeah.
year we do these things called save the deer parties. So the save the deer party was basically, man, we just go out and get super drunk. Just go out and get super drunk. And then what happens, how you save the deer, is you're too hungover the next day to wake up and go hunt, right, on opening day. So it'd be the night before opening day.
That's funny,
And
man.
it's tradition for me and my dad to go out on opening day and sit and do our thing. So I roll in at about like 4 o'clock in the morning and just drunk on my ass. We're waking up at like 5. So I mean, this is definitely not a role model story right now for sure.
Yeah.
But so we wake up at 5, we get out there daybreak, we're sitting, we had planned to sit. And man, obviously within a couple hours after daybreak, I'm sleeping. I fell asleep, passed out, sleeping, whatever.
Expected, yeah.
And I wake up yeah, right. Like saving, that's how we save the deer, right? So um I wake up a few hours after I'd fallen asleep. I don't know how long I was sleeping, and I look over. My dad's sleeping too, so he's not super diehard about it. He's crashed out, and then I look up and I notice there's this buck, a nice little 4x4 basket rack buck, literally feet from us, watching us, and we're sitting on the ground. I try to grab the gun real quick, but he takes off. But I don't know, man. When we talk about hunting stories, that one always comes to mind because, out with your dad opening day, been out with your boys all night, and you just kind of screw everything up, and you got a deer just watching you sleep for, I don't know how
Yeah.
long that deer was there, but
God, that's funny. I've woken up to deer walking in front of me as well. So, and I had a couple beers that trip as well. So it wasn't a
so you
save the
get
deer
it.
party, but I think that's a good name for it. I might as well have been. Another thing you said that's actually pretty funny is I've been talking to a lot of hunters, obviously. And when I ask them when they started hunting, they all started when they were little, and they all took a break right around high school to college for girls and booze, which is a pretty
Yep.
funny thing. No one really hunted in those main years. Not many
Yep.
people stuck to it, but they all came back.
Yep. We all came back for sure, man.
Oh, that's good, man. That's a good story. What else you got for us, man?
I kind of wish that I wouldn't have taken that break. As I look back, right? Like,
Yeah.
man, I could be a few years ahead of where I'm at now as far as like, getting things under your belt, man. Because every hunt you learn, right?
Oh yeah.
Every hunt you go on, you learn a little bit. If I would have hunted from, let's call it 18 to, I really didn't hunt much in my 20s. I really didn't start back up until I hit 30
Okay.
is when I kind of started hunting again. So, and I'm 42 right now. So, over the last 12 years of hunting, if I would hunt in my 20s, man, I would have been 10 more years ahead where I'm in now. Right. So I kind of wish I would have.
Yeah, man. I wish I even knew hunting was a thing back then. I started, let's see, I'm 38, and I started hunting roughly when I was like 32. And like I said, the first couple years, we're not really hunting. It was more about drinking beers in the tent. It was elk camp up in Western Washington. So it wasn't really
Okay.
hunting. It was a save the elk camp.
But that's a lot of fun too. We can be intense about elk hunting and talk about the shape you need to be in, the miles you need to cover. Like, but you know what? Sometimes it's fun just to go out and have some beers in a tent and hanging out with guys playing poker, man.
Oh
If you
yeah.
don't wake up the next thing and go elk hunting, who cares, right? It's still fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Still make it.
absolutely. Some of the best nights I've ever had out in the woods were save the elk camp. And that's an official term, I think, now. So but yeah, I take it much more seriously now. This year is kind of a year where I'm like, it's going to happen. So I've shot half an elk. I've told that story on another podcast, so I won't share it with you right now, Kurt, and maybe after that we've done recording. But yeah, this year I've got let's see, I've got an elk tag, a mule deer tag, a bear tag, an antelope tag. I'm going to a Texas tag, Texas whitetail tag, and I've been invited on an aoudad hunt. So hopefully I can get some good reps in this year.
Dude, you sound just as busy with hunting as I am. That's awesome.
We'll see. You know what? And I'm impressed with both of us because we both have less than 1 year old.
Yeah.
It's tough to fit it in, man.
And I talked about this a little bit on Dan and Elk Shapes podcast is keep that wife happy, man. That's like so key, right? If you put a lot of deposits in the bank throughout the year and you keep the wife happy, like it makes it a little easier to be able to slip out on some of these hunts. And then when you come back, man, you just immediately start, man, so that's super key.
Yep. I also am a big fan beyond just making the family deposits to make sure that she's happy throughout the year. Big fan of surrounding her with good people when I run into the woods. So previously I've been like flying in her best friend or her mom or whoever to just spend the week or, 10 days with her so that she has someone there to help her. This year I decided we're actually going to fly her down to Texas. So her and the kids are going down to spend time with the family. And she's like, oh yeah, sounds great. Like go get lost in the woods. I'll forget you exist for a few days.
Dude, that's smart, man. I'm going to have to take a page out of your book there and fly someone in. Like I'm kicking around like the nanny idea for this season because I'm gonna be gone a lot and hiring like a babysitter to help out too, so yeah. You
bring in someone that they like being around, it makes it a lot easier for them.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. I'm gonna have to take that one from you for sure.
Do it, man. Do it. Cool. Well, what other stories you have for us? You want to tell us about some big game hunting, some Nebraska whitetails? Your choice, dealer's choice, bud.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll tell you this story. Right behind me, is this podcast going to be visual or just audio for you?
Most of these I do just audio. When I do Zoom, it does record the video, so maybe I'll throw something up there.
So, for you guys listening, I'm sitting in my little man cave here, which let me tell you a story about that is my wife's not a hunter, which I absolutely love because that means like we don't have to split time on who gets to go hunting. Like I get to go hunting all the time, right? My wife.
Yeah.
So, but she doesn't want elk head or heads all over, and she doesn't want her house to look like a taxidermist's house, right? So I get this little room down here in the basement, and behind me, I've got a couple elk heads and a couple deer heads up in this little room, and I've got a lot more heads that won't fit in here that are still at the taxidermist spot because I have to figure out where to put them. But if you guys are visualizing, dude is he goes about 160 right here, and so that's a pretty good whitetail for Nebraska. He's above average. But how I got him, growing up in Nebraska, you don't have to shoot anything more than probably 200 yards. Anything more than that, they just look at you like you're dumb trying to shoot over 200 yards. So I've never really even practiced out past 300 yards. So I thought this year is I would buy, and I was probably about 17, 18 years old at this point. I'm going to buy a 7mm so I can shoot out to 300 yards. And if I needed to, I'd shoot way out there, right? Like we know being Western hunters now, like 300 yards is nothing, but back then that's a big deal, right? So bought this nice 7mm, put a nice scope on it, and I'm out hunting, and we do deer drives back there sometimes also. Have you ever done a deer drive?
I have not. I'm familiar with the concept, but you can feel free to explain it to the folks that maybe don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely redneck as hell, and it could be dangerous because you basically take a draw or a creek or a tree line, and you put two blockers at the end of it, and then a couple guys or a couple people start at one end and then they start walking towards the blockers, and it just pushes all the deer to the blockers, right? So a lot of times you're shooting at deer on the run, or you don't get a lot of opportunity, but it pushes all the deer through you, so you may be able to kick something out. But anyway, doing a deer drive, I'm one of the blockers sitting with my new 7mm. We're getting ready to shoot 300 yards because that's what I bought it for. And deer start coming out, and I look up, and this big buck is running right at me. Like 50 yards away, running right at me. And I pull my gun up, I get it to my shoulder, and I don't even look through the scope. I just point the barrel at the deer. And if I would have taken 2 steps to the left, he would have ran me over. So as he's going by me, I just pull the trigger and pull the trigger. No idea. Like, I just pointed the barrel at him as he's running by. So I fire it off. He takes off, continued going. And I take off running after him, not knowing if I hit him or not. Anyway, long story short, I ended up killing the deer. That's him over here, my shoulder here. But I bought this 7mm to shoot 300 yards, and my first deer outfit I shoot at 5 feet.
That's
so
amazing.
I thought that was a funny story.
Oh, that's awesome. Can't even imagine. Just like tipping over, falling backwards, firing a shot off, and actually getting the deer down.
Yeah.
To go back a little bit about I think our wives would get along, because my wife won't let me have any taxidermy in the house either. And actually, literally, she likes Euro mounts. She won't do, shoulder mounts or anything like that. So, but I did ask her like 3 months ago, can I fill up my office? And she said, yeah. So my office is a few animals behind, but soon enough, I'll fill it up. Right now, I just have, my,
you see the turkey.
Yep. Miriam, the rifle Colorado Miriam turkey there.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to have our little spot where we can stick all our heads in, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a good story. Why don't you tell us the first time you picked up a bow, or the first time you shot an elk?
All right. Yeah. So first time I picked up a bow, I was shooting at, I was about 8 years old, and my mom was getting into archery hunting. My dad would do it a little bit. So they bought me a bow, and this is back in the day, man. This is dating myself. There was no sights, that did not exist. These were aluminum arrows, and I don't know, you didn't grow up, but these aluminum arrows bent all the time. So you're trying to rebend them back straight, so you can continue shooting them. Yeah. And so it just, this is back in the day, and most of my arrows didn't even have all the fletchings on them, because if I had a flat feather or fletching on them, that meant that was a good arrow. Just shooting just some shit.
Yeah.
And so I have this little compound bow. I'm 8 years old. I've got my best arrow up in the stand with me. I'm sitting with my mom, and a buck comes out. She takes a shot, and she misses. I think it was over the back. And she's bummed about it, but I'm so excited. There was a deer, and I'm super pumped. And this is and let me preface this. So we'll fast forward real quick. So that was when I was 8 years old, and I'll finish that story. But fast forwarding to last year, I took my mom on her first elk hunt. So we'll definitely have to hit the story after this. Okay. So setting the stage is growing up with my mom hunting that's not a typical thing, right? So
no.
Anyway, so I've got my little compound bow, and then it's got a little practice arrow on it, and this one's got all its fletching, so I'm pretty excited about it. And I just want to shoot at something, and I'm like, Mom, okay, the next deer that comes out, I want to take a shot at it. She's okay. Not thinking anything, right? I got this not going to do anything. I got my bows at 30 pounds maybe, and it's got this little practice arrow on it and our practice tip. But so a doe comes out about 30 yards, which is absolutely my max. I don't think I could ever shoot a 30-pound doe over 30 yards, right? So okay, go ahead and scare the deer with your arrow. But I let it welt. Yeah, give it a welt. Let it loose, let it rip. And I hit the dang thing. It falls down. I mean, obviously it didn't hurt it or kill it, but it scared it enough and took off running. So that's the first time I ever shot a deer. I was 8 years old with my no sights, jinky little compound bow with a arrow with a little practice tip on it, man.
With your mom.
With my mom. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's jump forward now. Let's hear about you taking her elk hunting. This is awesome. How old was she last year, if she doesn't mind us asking?
Yeah, she was 63, I believe. She was 63 years old.
Okay.
And I had brought her up. So I bought an outfitter 5 or 6 years ago, and I started doing guided elk hunting. I brought her up to be the camp cook one year, and she, she loves, yeah, she loves hunting, and that actually most elk hunting trips, and maybe you can attest to this, I lose a good amount of weight, but her being the camp cook that year,
Oh.
I actually put weight on during elk
Wow.
hunting. Dude, she took care of us, man, for sure. And okay, let me go back to that one too, because I got a story about that hunt. But anyway, she was a camp cook one year, so she was like, man, this elk thing is pretty cool. I think I might want to try this. So we started building preference points for her because she still lives in Nebraska, and got her a tag last year, took her out hunting. I horsebacked her up into camp, and I had the camp still set up. The camp got destroyed with a bear and snow. So it was almost like survival. We just took a corner of the tent, patched it up the best we could, put our sleeping bags and our cots in there, spent the night on this like super tore up, crappy tent, but it worked.
Yeah.
It snowed a lot, so the elk had moved out. So we just spent like 2 days just busting our ass, man, and just working really hard with a trash tent and trying to find elk. And now I'm horsebacking her around because she, at 62, man, it's just the mountains are just not meant for someone that's not used to them for sure. And then 62-year-old flatlander from Nebraska, she wasn't doing super well. So we decided to bounce out of there, go get a hotel room, and do some day hunting. And it was a hard hunt. It's been a hard trip. So we did a couple days of day hunting, went out, found some elk. We went and cut them off. And this episode is actually on Carbon TV, Waypoint TV, and on my YouTube channel. So if anybody's listening wants to watch it, you definitely can. And I'd love it if you did. But
Yeah. And I'll put a link to this in the show notes too, so we can make sure it's easy for folks to find.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Found some elk. I hurried her along. We cut them off. They're down on this river bottom, kind of following this river, and got her set up, got the camera out because I, filmed the whole thing. And she's so nervous, man. Like she's getting the gun on them, and she didn't realize whether or not she had like the bullet in chamber or not. So I'm seeing this out of the corner of my eye because I'm trying to film, and she's kind of freaking out a little bit. The bull's coming. Right? You can see the bull starting to peek out of the bushes, and she's fiddling around, and all of a sudden she tries to chamber. So the bullet takes off flying at me because you already had it chambered, and she chambered another one. And long story short, man, like she pulled it off. She killed her first bull. And talk about emotion. I got all this on film, but like immediately starts bawling. Out of
her,
excitement.
both of you, everybody,
both of us.
I'm sure, man. I'm sure.
Yeah, out of excitement and like just the stress, and because it was a frustrating hunt, and she finally killed her first elk. It was probably one of the coolest moments that I've had with my mom.
Yeah,
ever, I think, because
I bet, man,
that's something just me and her can share. That's something I was able to provide her that experience, and it was super cool, man. That's definitely something I would never forget.
I bet. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't raised with any of this. My parents don't hunt. I invite them to come to things. I'm trying antelope hunting this year, but they're just not interested. So I'll never get to kind of share that feeling. But I've heard actually multiple stories of people helping their mother or father or whatever it is get their first elk, and it's overwhelming, and it means a lot to the parent and the trying to blank on the word, and the
and you. Me.
Yeah.
I got more enjoyment out of that hunt than any hunt that I've been on for myself.
I bet.
I mean, helping someone else fulfill a dream and just seeing the emotion that comes along with that when it's successful, just amazing, man. Like you can't put a dollar on that for sure, man.
I'm sure. One final question about that story. What was the best food she made in camp that year?
Oh, when she was a camp cook?
Yeah.
Dude, she had pre-made breakfast burritos.
Oh.
And I mean, all the food was freaking awesome, but this was clutch because usually breakfast is not, sometimes you don't eat breakfast or you have a bar, right? Like it's quick, or oatmeal maybe, right? Like I get so sick of oatmeal by the end of the season. But breakfast burritos, warmed up, ready to go, stuffing our pockets full of them. But that was probably that was money right there. That was the best.
Yeah, that's funny you say that. I've had breakfast burritos. I got a buddy who's from Texas, and so like that's all he eats for breakfast, right? Breakfast tacos is what he calls them. But
Yeah.
he'd cook up a bunch of them, warm them up in like a double boiler in his camper, and then like they're hand warmers as you're hiking in. Then when you get to where you want to be in the morning, you crack them open and you have yourself a nice breakfast burrito. It's a great way to go.
Dude, it's like luxury on the mountain, man. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said you had another story from that same hunt, and we'll have to come back to it. So let's go back.
Yeah. All right. So she's camp cook, and we're guiding a guy. And again, it snowed. So like where I guide or used to guide, I actually sold my outfitter this year, my outfitting company. But if it snows, we have a northern facing mountain that we hunt on. If it snows, man, all the elk get pushed off. So it's not as good at hunting. So we had moved the guy that we were hunting to a different area, but we still had camp up that we needed to break down the next day and take out. When I had a rifle tag and I wasn't hunting and using it, I had my gun, but we're trying to get our client an elk, right? But I had it in my pocket and had my gun up there. So the next morning it's again a pretty shitty hunt, not a lot of elk that we saw. So we're just gonna try to pack up camp and get out the next morning. So we sleep in, man. When I roll out of bed at like 11 o'clock, and I had a videographer there that was capturing footage for our website and my company, and then my mom was there, and a guide and my client had gone to a different area, so it was just three of us. I roll out of the cot, roll out of the tent, go up, and we have this little toilet seat up on the side of the mountain. So I'm taking a crap, and I I come walking down off the hill after taking a crap, and I see my mom outside the tent, and she's just freaking out, like going circles, pointing up the mountain, freaking out. So I come down there like, what's going on? What are you freaking out about? She's like, there's an elk, there's a bull right up there on the side of the mountain. There's right there, I can see it. Now, let me back up. The day before, she said the same thing about a horse she saw. That was different drainage, okay? And I'm like, all right, Mom, sure. So I look up there, and sure enough, there's this bull elk coming down the mountain right at us, and he's probably 500-600 yards up there. And so I wake up my videographer. I'm like, his name's Reese. Reese, get up, grab your camera, throw me my gun. So, and he's a legal bull, not a big bull, man. Just a nice 5x5.
That's meat.
It's meat, man. Yeah, meat in the freezer. And grab my gun, set up, and I had grab my gun, set up, wait, and he's walking down pretty much right at me, man, at about 400 yards. So I'm like, don't want to take that shot. So I'm waiting. He finally goes broadside. I take the shot. I kill the bull. So which is super exciting. It's the first one she ever seen in real life. She got to see it die, got to see it kill. We got the meat, and we have a picture of this that right next to me after I killed the bull was the empty cartridge that I ejected, laying on top the toilet paper and the wet wipes that I was using to wipe my ass minutes before.
Man, if only elk hunting was that easy for everyone, Kurt. That's
anybody that knows me, man, they know like I'm a lucky hunter. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you got to put in your work and you got to be skillful, but like they joke around like, Kurt, you could find elk in a Walmart parking lot, man. Like,
that's
like
so
just
funny.
a lucky hunter. And
I am the complete opposite, man. I have the worst luck. I'm still trying, but I'm also still learning. So maybe I'll teach myself a thing or two and eventually sharpen my luck up a little bit.
Well, that's luck, right? The culmination of preparation and there's something else. I can't remember what the saying is, but
yeah.
That's what luck is, actually hard work kind of paying off, right? So
yeah, I can't believe you're just like taking a crap and next thing you know, you're killing an elk.
I know.
And waking up at 11, you're gonna get a lot of people start waking up late at elk camp because of these stories, man. Missing a lot of opportunity.
I was joking with my camera guy saying I should rename my outfitting company to like we hunt off the shitter LLC or outfitter.
Porcelain throne outfitting. That's funny. Give me another example. I want to. So if people think you're lucky, it can't just be this one story. Give me another example of some lucky hunting. I want to hear these stories and hope that someday they happen to me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So yes, I'm definitely named the lucky hunter. So my first elk, and let me kind of like back this up by like the struggle of learning how to elk hunt from a whitetail guy into elk hunting. I don't know, man. How before I get into this, let me just ask you, are you pretty new to elk hunting then? So I know you went to elk shape and
Yeah. So this year, this upcoming season will be my 7th season, but the first 3 were muzzleloader in Washington. And like I said, what did we call that? The Save the Elk Camp. It was not really about elk hunting.
Yep.
We drank plenty, and in fact, I only saw 1 elk the entire time. The rest of the time, I was like, I don't even know what an elk looks like. I hope I don't accidentally shoot a deer. Then moved back home to Colorado and decided I'm going to pick up archery hunting, and it's been 3 seasons. One which was just me with some random guys walking around the woods with our bows, and then 2 other ones that were actually, we had some opportunities. We just didn't close the deal. So 6 years of struggling, but we're getting there.
Hey man, what's the percentage? Like, is it 10-15% of people are actually successful elk hunting?
Yeah.
So like, don't feel bad, man. It's just keep grinding, man.
That's
For
the way I
sure.
look
So,
at it. And I also figure there's plenty of people that go there and do drink and have a great time. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a hell of a good time. But if you take those people out of the equation, I bet that percentage goes up. So I'm at the point in my hunting that I figure I'm going to take that stuff out. It's going to be there at camp in case I put an elk down. But
there you go.
that's not going to be part of my equation until I get one down.
There you
And
go.
I'm hoping that increases my odds. At least, there's plenty of other things I'm doing as well. But that one thing, just taking it pretty damn serious, hopefully gets me at least a 15% chance of success.
Heck yeah, man. And a little celebratory like whiskey shot of whiskey or a beer after you
Yes,
killed
sir.
something is pretty
Yep.
nice.
My
For
my
sure.
buddy, my hunting buddy has a bottle of Pappy Van Winkles that we're saving for just the occasion. So,
Nice, nice.
yep.
All right. So yes, for my own story of getting into elk hunting, I moved out to Colorado with a girl that I was dating at the time. I wanted to go to Boston. She wanted to go to Colorado. She won. Here I am. We broke up like a month later, and then I stayed in Colorado. But I finally decided that I wanted to elk hunt. It was just so intimidating, man.
Yeah.
Like how does the Colorado system even work? Because I'm used to Nebraska where it was, oh, you want to go hunting, buy a tag and hunt. That's it. Like
Yeah.
freaking easy, right? But here it's like, okay, you got all these different units, you got draws, you got points, you like super intimidating. And then you have tens of thousands of acres, like thousands and thousands of acres of like national forest land where elk can be.
Yep.
I'm used to hunting river bottoms and draws and creeks are like, again, super easy. So, dude, it was so intimidating. It was so hard. So I finally decided, all right, I'm just going to go out there and figure this out. And first time I went, I took my bow and I just walked around for a couple days. And that's basically my elk hunting. That's it, man.
That sounds
No idea.
exactly like my first archery trip.
Yeah, no idea what's going on, man. And I just walked around. But at one point, I realized that having a mentor is really important, right? It shortens your learning curve. And my hunting mentors are my family back in Nebraska. They don't know crap about elk hunting, right? So I can't go back to those. And how do you find a mentor, right? You just will walk up on people on the street and say, "Hey, do you elk hunt? Can we be friends?" Like,
Yeah.
back then too. Now there's a lot more like Facebook groups and stuff like that. Like elk shape, or like you meet people and
Yeah.
jive. It's a little easier now, but back then, man, you just didn't find a mentor very well. Which also, this is my shameless plug with this story. I've started a company called Hunt Mentors, which is going to help that for people that don't have a mentor. We could talk about.
It's brilliant, and I'm glad you brought it up. I forgot about it up until this point, and it's something I did want to talk to you about. So
yeah,
let's talk the story. We'll finish up with the Hunt Mentors.
All right, cool. Anyway, so I decided, man, you know what? I'm going to cough up some money, and I'm going to hire an outfitter to take me elk hunting. And I know like a lot of these veteran elk hunters are going to turn their nose up at that, say, oh, an outfitter, like you had to spend the money, go on a paid hunt. Well, I needed information, and I wanted the information fast, and I didn't want to continue struggling year after year, slowly finding shit out. So I coughed up some money, went on this hunt, And the entire preface of the hunt was to extract as much information as I could from my guide and my outfitter. And that's what I did, man. Like question after question after question, just observing, soaking things in like a sponge. Well, the hunt was great. Definitely tough, man. I lost a lot of weight, did a lot of hiking. It was a rifle hunt, second season here in Colorado, so it wasn't warm. It was definitely cold as shit.
Yeah.
And
I have a cow tag for that season this year.
yeah. And it was cool because we horsebacked in, and that was a cool experience for me. I actually had missed an elk at 400 yards because I had no clue how to shoot at 400 yards. My gun wasn't set up for it. I had just a cheaper scope on it. I did not have any dialing. So basically, I'm just guessing above the elk's back, or what I think is about, 12 to 20 inches or whatever the drop was for that gun, right? End up missing elk. So I'm bummed out. But at the same time, man, like I'm soaking up the experience. Don't care. It's last day of the hunt, the last evening, I'm hanging out with my guide. We got to know each other really well, man. I built some really good relationships that I still hunt with. This guy's named Clint. The outfitter's name was Jamie. I'm going on a hunt with him this year, and like made awesome friendships on this hunt, right? So it was definitely worth it for me. Anyway, last day, last evening, we're sitting up on this knob. I'm not even paying attention because I know there's like zero chance of me killing an elk, or super slim, right? So we're glassing, my guy's glass, and he actually made the comment, yo, are you don't get up and like glass, or what are you gonna do? Because I'm just laying on a rock, right, trying to soak up some rays, right? I've basically given up, right? So all right, I'll get up and glass. And there's about 20 minutes left of shooting light, and he spots an elk off over on the other side of this drainage. It's about a mile away. And he's like, oh, that's a legal bull. He's like, what do you think? Think we can get there in time? I'm like, fuck it, let's try. I don't care. So we take off, man, and literally sprinting, running down the mountain that we're on, down to the bottom of it, back up the other side of the mountain. And with just minutes left of shooting light on the last day, the last seconds, I kill a bull, and I was successful on that hunt my first time. Super lucky.
That's awesome. That is so lucky.
Yeah, super lucky. So
that's awesome, though. And especially that you still are connected with those guys.
Yeah, man, they're great dudes, man. And Clint was my guide with the outfitting company that I bought. I had bought it from Jamie, and just made a great friendship with those guys, man. And I learned so much so fast about elk hunting because I paid for their knowledge and I soaked it up, man.
Yeah,
just like elk shape, man. Like those guys are great. They have tons of knowledge, man, and just soak it all up.
I agree. I don't know if you have any other stories, and if you do, I'd love to hear them. Otherwise, I'm happy to dive into the mentor stuff, because I wanted to tell you a little bit about a mentor. I don't have an elk mentor, but I do have a turkey mentor, and I'm batting 1,000 on turkey. So it's definitely something that works.
Let me think real quick if I got any cool stories for you. Nah, man, I mean, a lot of them have to do with me just being lucky hunting. I can talk about how I'm lucky hunting all day long. As far as this season, I've been on some cool hunts. I went to Saskatchewan on a black bear hunt, ended up getting a black bear. That was super cool. I went to Mexico on a Ghoul's turkey hunt. I've been really blessed, man, to make some good relationships to be able to do this. And went to Hawaii. If you've never been to Hawaii hunting, you definitely have to go, dude. That's so much fun. Axis deer, sheep, like so much fun. And then later this year, I'm going on my first moose hunt in Alberta, archery hunt. So that's gonna be fun. Aoudad hunt, and then I got a Coues deer hunt. Tons of hunts, amazing, man. I'm super blessed to be able to do what I do, man.
Yeah, you are lucky. Jeez,
super lucky, man, for sure.
That's amazing. Actually, I was talking with Jeremiah Doherty, who Field the Plate, if you're familiar with the gentleman, and he's trying to work on a hunt in Hawaii where they actually have wild cows, and so they're trying to figure out a wild cow hunt because he's allergic to beef. And so they're trying to see if it has something to do with them being in captivity or not. And so they're going to go harvest some wild cattle and see if it has the same enzymes or whatever it is they're looking for, to see if it's, if that has something to do with it. So super interesting study that they're doing. COVID kind of put a kibosh to it when they tried to do it previously, but I think he's going to make it happen this year. And I don't think I'm ruining anything because that episode we talked about it. It's going to come out like 3 weeks before this one. So
that is an interesting story right there. Being allergic to beef is super interesting.
Yeah.
And then figuring out a way like, all right, let's go kill this thing that has been just all naturally fed wild and see if that's different. Because it's a good hypothesis because I grew up on a cattle farm. So I know, like, you know, the things that they eat, corn fed, you know, all the shots they get and I can definitely see how that could be a thing.
Yeah. I'm super interested. I told them I'm going to have them back on after they're kind of done with it because I want to know. I want to hear, and that just validates being a hunter even more. Like, I think if the hypothesis goes the way that we probably all think it is going to. So,
yeah.
But cool, Kurt. Well, rather than telling us a bunch of more lucky stories, why don't we talk a little bit about a hunt mentor? Let me tell you this actually first. So you said there are better tools for it right now. When I moved back to Colorado, I was like, okay, I want to do elk hunting, but hell, I've never turkey hunted. Let's figure this out. So I went on Facebook and just Colorado hunters. I was like, don't know anything about turkey hunting. Someone want to teach me a thing or two. And a gentleman actually reached out. I'm hoping to have him on the podcast, but he took every call from me. He lives in Rifle and I live more towards the Denver metro area. And he took every call. He actually came to town once and I was like, hey, let me buy you dinner and pick your brain some more. And he gave me all the knowledge I could possibly ask for. And I was about as respectful as I could possibly be. And he invited me out to hunt. And so I went on my first turkey hunt with this mentor, this random guy. Drove 4 hours out to his house and we hunted hard. We hunted like any elk hunt I've ever been on, looking for these Miriam turkeys. And I learned a ton and I have not missed a turkey season since. Every year I've put something down. I've killed a turkey with a shotgun. I've killed a turkey with my bow. And last year, it's ridiculous, but I even killed a turkey with a 270. So like having a mentor, it was a good shot. Didn't blow up any meat, but the circumstances allowed. I was literally walking away from hunting to just go to elk shape camp. It was the day before elk shape camp. And I had my bow. I was actually axis deer hunting, but there were turkeys. They were in season. I had a tag. So I was like, I called him in to about 50 yards and I couldn't get him any closer behind a bunch of brush. So I just set my bow down and picked up my 270 and was like, I want some meat.
Yeah, man, wild turkey is great, man.
It's delicious. It's super delicious. Yeah. Going back to Field of Plate, they came up in that podcast, but he has a KFC bowl, wild turkey KFC bowl. Delicious. You got to try it next time you put a turkey down. It's so good. Yeah. But my point being that there's huge value in having a mentor. And I don't have one for most big game. And I had one for turkey. And there's an obvious learning curve where like turkey, it seems that I have that down. But elk, I'm still struggling through it. And so why don't you tell the people what you're doing with your mentor program? Because it's super interesting to me. I think this is going to come out after you're having some live webinars and stuff. I'll make sure to post those. But, give us the big picture.
Yeah. So, I've kind of told my story a little bit so far on this podcast on just how hard and how tough the barrier of entry is to go on some of these big game hunts. Even if you grew up in the whitetail states, right? Like if you don't know someone or don't have a mentor, how do you do it? Starting hunting is just a tremendous barrier to break to start hunting. It's what gear do I buy? What weapon do I use? How do I use my weapon? Where do I go for this? What about, obviously if I don't know anybody that has private land, public land, how do I do the public land thing? How do I get a tag? Like it is a tremendous feat just to go on your first hunt. And so I started Hunt Mentors this year because of that, because of how hard it was. And I just know this is a tough barrier of entry, man, on any hunting, especially if you don't have a mentor. And that's what it is, right? You have a turkey mentor and look at the success you've had with turkey hunting because he was willing to share his knowledge with you, right? I think everyone needs a mentor. If they don't have one, it just shortens the learning curve so much. And now with that mentor, you can be successful. And I've mentored people basically every year. I've just we talk about Ben from Wad Prep. Last year, he reached out to me. We had a mutual friend and I've taken him out on a bunch of hunts and I've been mentoring him. and now he's super addicted to hunting. And
Yeah, he is.
I don't know if it's a good thing or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's intense. He said in his podcast, which is out right now, anything he does whole assed is his exact word, and he doesn't mess around. I'm excited to see, in 5 years what that guy looks like. He's going to be just putting everything down.
Yeah, he is definitely all in, man, when he goes
Yeah.
in, for sure. So yeah, I just think it's just so important to have a mentor. And even a lot of these Facebook groups, man, and the hunting industry as a whole, hunters can be really harsh, man,
Oh
on
yeah.
you guys. It could be really bad. I mean, there's a lot of dicks out there. If someone posts something or says something that's naive's not a bad term, man. Like, you just don't have the knowledge, and that's okay.
Yep.
Like, hunters just trash on each other. It's not as bad right now because we have a lot of shit going on with like these groups that are trying to bring back wolves in certain areas, or like ban cat hunting, and like has made hunters kind of come together for like a cause, right? And so we're not
Yeah.
at each other as much. But you look at bow hunters, you look at compound guys versus trad guys, they trash on each other. Look at the different gun guys versus bow guys, or like the 300 guys versus whatever. Like, hunters just trash on each other all the time. Oh, you like first light? I'm a Sitka guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I just don't enjoy this. I've been in a lot of different industries, and this is the only industry that is bad at it. And I just know that like people need help, man. And so Hunt Mentors is that right there, is to be able to mentor people that need a mentor. And there's only different facets at it. So like, obviously there's the one-on-one mentor kind of way to go about it, where like I could bring on 5 to 10 people and mentor them on through their first hunts, or mentor them on how to be more successful at elk hunting or any big game that they're hunting, how to be more successful at it. And then I'm also want to build out online courses where, all right, maybe you don't want the one-on-one, but you just want a quick 5 steps on how to go on your first hunt, or how to be more successful at hunting, or elk hunting, how to be in the 15%. I just want to make sure there's enough information for everybody and every type of person to have some sort of a mentor there.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense, man. It's noble, and you're absolutely right. A part I left out of my story is I probably got more messages of people mocking me for reaching out, trying to find someone to help me with turkey hunting, than I did people reaching out. But it only takes one. You just got to have a thick skin, and hopefully, hunters start to realize that we're all on the same team here. So,
yeah, man, I don't understand why it needs to be that way. Without hunters, there's no conservation. Without conservation, there's nothing to hunt, right? So I know the fear of hunters, like, oh, they're going to take my hunting and my spot. Now there's going to be more people in my spots hunting. Like, I understand that, man. I have that too. Like, I want everybody to hunt. Just don't hunt in my spots. But like, not being selfish about it. Like, we need a lot of hunters, and we need youth hunters. We need more women hunters. We need to continue to have good conservation so we can continue to hunt until we're 80, right? So
hell yeah.
And I've been there, man. I've been the guy like not knowing and just trying to figure it out. You've been there, and it's
I'm
not a
still
good
there.
feeling. Yeah, for sure. And I'm still there, man. Like, yeah, I've got some more years under my belt, and I've gone on a lot more hunts, so I have a little more knowledge that I can give back. But I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I'm humble enough to say I don't know everything. I'm still learning. And I think that I just wish it was a little bit different in our industry, but that's what I'm trying to bring, man.
Yeah, that's awesome, bud. What else you got? I know that tell us a little bit more about Western Obsessions, TV and all that, and then we'll go ahead and sign off here.
Yeah. So that, what I was just talking about is a company called Hunt Mentors. You can find that huntmentors.com. It's just a landing page right now, but it's a company I'm slowly building, put together. I'm starting it off with free live online webinars for people.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they'll probably be done this year before this comes out. So you guys will check it out for next year. Western Obsessions TV is a hunting show. So I go out and film all my hunts, produce them, put them together. Right now they're on Waypoint TV, Carbon TV, and my YouTube channel. You can find that Western Obsessions TV. And I absolutely love it, man. I filmed a hunt in 2019 and I fell in love with, and it's almost an addiction. I don't think I can hunt anymore without documenting it. Even if I don't like put it out as a show, like I just want to document my experience.
Yeah.
And here's what it really breaks to, man. Like I'm gonna really dig in deep here. When I turned 40, I think I had either a midlife crisis kind of thing, man, where I have a big background in business. Okay. I've built and sold many businesses, multi-million-dollar revenuing businesses, right? So all my 30s has been about building businesses. And I hit 40 and I just realized that like I just wanted to live a different life than in the entrepreneur. And so what I wanted to do was go on all these badass adventures, hunting adventures, and I wanted to document them for people to watch, to entertain people. If they wanted to watch it, cool. If not, no big deal. But at the very least, man, I document it so I can watch them. And what's super cool about it is my grandkids could watch what their great grandpa Kurt did in hunting, right?
Yeah,
like
that's awesome.
It's almost immortal, right? Like, and that sounds egotistical when I say that, but like, we don't have that. Do you know who your great grandpa was? I bet we don't even have a picture of our great grandpa, right? Yeah. So I just think it's super cool, man. I enjoy it a lot. Whether or not other people do or not, I don't know, but I enjoy it. So that's what Western Obsessions TV is, man. It's me trying to go on these really cool adventures and document them. And that's how I want to live my life, man. Because shoot, at 40 years old, let's say that I can hunt till 80, which is a lofty goal. That means I only have 40 more elk seasons left. That's it.
Yeah.
Super scary. Right.
It's weird when you put a number on it like that. Yeah. That is weird.
Yeah. So that's how I want to live my life, and that's how I'm doing it. That's Western Obsessions TV. And then I have Hunt Mentors and then the Top Predator. That is my focus. And that's how I want to live my life. Trying to make a living my life that way right now.
Perfect, Kurt. Well, this was fun, man. This was super fun. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and your passions. I'm definitely going to connect with you after this hunting season, see if you got some new luck for us. And
for sure.
Yeah, man. Thanks again. All right, guys. That's it. Another couple stories in the books. I want to thank Kurt for jumping on the podcast and taking some time from his very busy schedule. Not only that, but he actually stayed on after we finished recording to give me pointers on antelope hunting. So great guy. He's out here to help people. Check him out. Follow him on Instagram. Follow him on YouTube. Check out his TV show, mentors.com. All the stuff that he's doing, it's all for the better of all of us hunters. So I want to say one more time, Kurt, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. To you listeners, thank you as well for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And if you did, please share it with someone. Just one person. Let's go ahead and get this thing growing. The more people that know about it, the more people are going to reach out to me with some crazy freaking stories that we'll share with you guys. So there you go. Follow us on Instagram. That's all I got, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. Now go make some stories of your own.